Captain Elias Ward stood tall on the balcony of the Grand Hall, though inside he wished he was anywhere else. Bright lights shone down from the crystal ceiling, reflecting off banners of silver and gold. Thousands of alien eyes stared at him, their colors glowing like gemstones in the crowd. Some cheered, some clapped in their own species' ways, clicking claws, humming songs, or flashing lights from bioluminescent skin. Elias forced a polite smile and raised his hand in greeting. He was a human among many species, yet tonight he was the center of attention. The battle against the hostile Drexar fleet had left scars on ships, stations, and hearts, but it had also left him alive, and alive meant hero in the eyes of those who had almost lost hope. The alien announcer's voice echoed through the chamber. Captain Elias Ward of Earth, defender of the weak, protector of the Union, a true example of courage. The applause grew louder. Elias bowed his head in thanks. To the crowd, it looked like humility. To him, it was exhaustion. He had led the last desperate strike when all others failed. He had stayed at the controls of a battered ship when systems collapsed around him. His decisions had saved the station, saved millions even. But heroics always came at a cost. Behind the medals and the speeches were sleepless nights, memories of fire and faces of those who never returned. When the ceremony ended, guards guided him down the shining halls of the station. Every turn held new aliens eager to greet him, wave at him, or touch his hand for luck. He nodded, shook hands, and gave smiles, though each one felt heavier than the last. Finally, the guards led him to a quiet corridor. "This way, Captain," said the officer, a tall insectoid with glassy wings. "Your private chamber awaits." Elias breathed easier once the heavy door closed behind him. Silence, at last. The room was simple: polished metal walls, a mirror, a bench, and a small locker with his name. He placed his medals inside carefully. They looked too bright, too perfect, compared to the weary lines on his face. He sat on the bench and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Another ceremony, another title," he muttered, "but I'm still just Elias." For a long moment he stayed still. He thought of Earth, its blue skies, its green forests, and the smell of rain. The stars outside felt endless, yet he longed for the simple things. Hero to the galaxy, but just a man who missed home. He was so deep in thought that he almost didn't hear it. The faint hiss of the chamber door. His head snapped up. The guards had promised him privacy. No one was supposed to enter. The door slid open just enough for a figure to slip inside. Elias stood quickly, his training sharp even when tired. His eyes focused on the intruder. It was a young alien woman, her features delicate yet bright. Her skin shimmered pale silver, almost like starlight. Two small horns curved gently from her forehead, and her large eyes glowed with excitement. She pressed the door closed behind her, then turned toward him with both hands clasped tightly in front of her. Elias frowned. "This room is restricted. Who are you?" The alien woman froze, as if caught in the middle of a forbidden adventure. Her voice shook, but her words came fast, as though she had practiced them many times. "Please, Captain Ward, do not be angry. My name is Lyra. I mean no harm." Elias remained cautious, his arms crossing over his chest. "Then why are you here? This chamber is private." Lyra took a deep breath, her silver skin flickering faintly with nervous light. I had to see you. Not from a balcony, not from a hollow screen. I wanted to meet you with my own eyes." Elias raised an eyebrow. "So you snuck past security just to talk to me?" Her eyes widened, glowing brighter. "Yes. Humans are amazing. You stand against fear. You fight when others give up. I've read every record about your people, every story about you. I could not waste this chance." Elias sighed and rubbed his forehead. This was not the first time he had met an admirer, but it was the first time one had broken into his personal chamber. He should have called the guards. Yet something in her trembling voice stopped him. He studied her. She looked no older than a young scholar, perhaps someone more used to books than battles. Her hands shook slightly, yet her gaze never left him. It was not the look of someone seeking fame. It was the look of someone searching for truth. Lyra, is it? Elias said, his tone softer. She nodded quickly. You realize how dangerous this was. If someone else found you, things could have ended badly. I know, she whispered, her silver glow dimming. But I wanted to ask, why? Why do humans keep risking themselves for others? Why did you? The question hung in the air. Elias leaned back against the locker, crossing his arms again, though this time it was not out of anger. He thought of the battles, the choices, the moments when fear screamed at him to run. Why? He repeated slowly. Because if we don't, who will? Because someone has to stand when everything else falls. Humans, we don't like losing. What we care about. We fight, even when the odds say we shouldn't. Lyra's eyes shimmered with awe. Exactly. That is why I admire you. My people, we study, we calculate, but in the end, we hesitate. You humans act. You change the story. That is why the galaxy calls you heroes. Elias gave a short laugh, shaking his head. Heroes, huh? Most days I just feel like a man trying not to make mistakes. Lyra tilted her head, curious. But that is the point. Even when afraid, you move forward. That is what no calculation can measure. Elias studied her again. Perhaps this was not simply a fan's foolish stunt. Perhaps it was the honest wonder of someone who had never understood what it meant to be human. Before he could reply, a sudden alarm echoed through the station. Red lights flashed across the chamber walls. The floor vibrated under their feet. Elias straightened instantly, his instincts returning. Something was wrong. Lyra's glow flickered with fear. What is happening? She asked, her voice trembling. Elias's eyes narrowed. I don't know, but stay close, Lyra. And in that moment, the quiet meeting between a human hero and his alien admirer turned into the beginning of something neither of them had expected. The alarm echoed through the walls of the chamber, a sharp warning sound that cut through the air like a blade. Red light washed over the room, pulsing in rhythm with the noise. Captain Elias Ward straightened, his soldier's instincts sharpening. Instantly. Lyra flinched at the sound, her glowing silver skin flickering like a candle in the wind. She wrapped her arms around herself as if the alarm alone could strike her down. What's happening? She whispered, her voice trembling. Elias didn't answer right away. He moved to the door, pressing his palm against the panel. The screen displayed a flashing warning symbol, but no details. That meant the station's systems were either too busy or too damaged to give a clear report. He turned back to Lyra. Whatever it is, we'll find out soon enough. His voice was calm, steady. He knew fear spread quickly, and he would not allow it to rule here. Lyra's eyes widened. You are not afraid? Elias shook his head. Fear is normal, but it doesn't decide what I do. Focus is stronger. Her gaze lingered on him, as if trying to memorize those words. For her, it was not just advice. It was a glimpse into what made humans different. The alarm ceased suddenly, though the red lights kept pulsing. A softer voice replaced the noise, echoing from hidden speakers. Attention. All personnel remain in secure locations. An unidentified vessel has entered restricted orbit. Await further instruction. Elias exhaled. So it's a ship. Could be trouble, could be nothing. Either way, they're locking things down. Lyra swallowed hard, her silver glow faint. Does this mean an attack? Not yet, Elias said. He studied her for a moment. But you shouldn't be here. This is the worst time to be sneaking around. Her head lowered, her hands twisting together. I know. I couldn't stop myself. Elias walked closer, his expression serious but not harsh. Lyra, if you wanted to talk to me, there are safer ways. Barging into a private room during a security lockdown, that could end very badly for you. She nodded quickly, her voice soft. I understand. I only wanted to see if you were real, not just the legend. Elias tilted his head slightly. And? What do you think now that you've met me? Lyra's glowing eyes lifted, full of honesty. You are real, but also more than I imagined. Not because of medals or battles, but because you speak as if you carry the weight of others inside you. That is not something stories ever show. For the first time that evening, Elias's stern face softened. Admiration was something he was used to, but this was different. Lyra's words were not about heroism. They were about humanity. Before he could reply, the chamber door hissed again. Both Elias and Lyra froze. The door slid open, and 2 station guards entered quickly, their armor gleaming under the red light. One was the insectoid officer from before, his glassy wings twitching with unease. The other, a scaled reptilian, gripped a stun rifle tightly. Captain Ward, the insectoid, said, bowing his head. Forgive the intrusion. Security protocol requires that we escort you to the command deck. The reptilian's sharp eyes turned toward Lyra. And who is this? His tone carried suspicion. Lyra's glow dimmed as she stepped back. She's with me, Elias said firmly before she could speak. His voice carried the authority of a commander, leaving no space for argument. The reptilian frowned. With you? Elias nodded. Yes, she will stay under my supervision. The insectoid officer hesitated, then inclined his head. Very well, Captain. Please come with us quickly. The station may be in danger. As they stepped into the corridor, Lyra walked beside Elias, her steps small and careful. She whispered, Why did you say that? You could have told them I was an intruder. Elias glanced at her. Because throwing you to security would solve nothing. Besides, you don't strike me as a threat. Just very curious. Her silver skin flickered faintly, like a shy smile expressed through light. The corridors of the station were busier now, filled with rushing guards and technicians. Warning symbols glowed along the walls. The hum of engines beneath their feet seemed louder, as if the whole station held its breath. As they walked, Lyra leaned closer. Captain, may I ask, why do you not grow tired of this? The battles, the alarms, the endless dangers. Elias gave a quiet laugh, though it held no mockery. Who says I don't get tired? I'm tired every day. But someone has to face these things. If not me, then who? Heroes aren't people who enjoy danger, Lyra. They're people who step forward anyway. She nodded slowly, absorbing his words like a student with a teacher. Her admiration was clear, but so was her need to understand. The guards led them into a lift that carried them upward, the transparent walls showing the curve of the station outside. Beyond, the stars shimmered against the endless black. And there, a shadow, a ship without lights hovering at the edge of sight. That's no merchant vessel, Elias muttered. The reptilian guard hissed softly. We think it may be a Drexar raider. No signals, no ID. Lyra gasped, her glow pulsing with fear. The Drexar? But they were defeated. Elias placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. Defeated doesn't always mean gone. They test borders, strike in shadows. We'll see what they want. The lift opened to the command deck, where a wide view of the stars filled the room. Officers of many species worked at glowing consoles, voices overlapping in tense reports. At the center stood the station commander, a tall avian figure with steel blue feathers. Captain Ward, the commander said sharply, though relief flickered in his tone, your presence is welcome. We may need your counsel. Elias nodded and approached the main display. The dark ship loomed larger now, circling like a predator outside the station's shields. Beside him, Lyra's glowing hands clutched each other tightly. She had wanted to meet a hero. Now she was standing next to one in the middle of a crisis. For Elias, the situation was familiar. Another threat, another choice. For Lyra, it was something far greater. It was the moment she would see not just stories, but the living truth of what it meant to be human. And neither of them knew how soon that truth would be tested. The command deck of the station buzzed with energy. Lights blinked, voices overlapped, and tension filled the air like a storm about to break. Officers of many species moved quickly, adjusting controls. sending signals, and scanning the mysterious ship that drifted outside. Captain Elias Ward stood near the central console, his arms folded, eyes fixed on the screen. The dark, unmarked vessel hovered in silence. No lights, no communication, only a shadow against the stars. To Elias, silence was often more dangerous than noise. Lyra stayed close behind him, her glowing skin dimmed by fear yet flickering with curiosity. She wanted to ask questions, but for a time she only watched. She had never been inside a command deck during a crisis. For her, this was something seen in records, never lived. The avian commander spread his feathered arms. Captain Ward, the ship refuses to answer our signals. No identification, no code. It does not move closer, but it does not leave either. Elias nodded slowly. Then it's watching, testing your reaction. The commander tilted his head. You think they are hostile? They want you to think, Elias replied calmly. That's the danger. You react too soon, you risk a fight. You react too late, you risk an attack. Lyra's glowing eyes widened. She leaned closer, whispering, How do you know this? Elias glanced at her briefly. Patterns. Hostiles often test before they strike. You learn to read them after enough battles. Her silver skin pulsed softly, the alien sign of deep thought. So humans, you do not just fight. You study your enemies too? A faint smile touched Elias's lips. Of course. Fighting without thinking is just throwing lives away. We don't like wasting lives. Lyra nodded slowly, as if his words opened a new window in her mind. She had thought of humans as reckless, rushing into danger with fearless hearts. But here was Elias, showing that bravery was mixed with calculation. The commander gave a sharp call to the officers. Maintain, shields at full strength, weapons ready, but do not fire unless fired upon. Elias turned to Lyra. This will take time. While we wait, you said you wanted to know the truth about humans. Ask then. I'll answer. Her glow brightened suddenly, excitement pushing aside her fear. She clasped her hands together. Truly, you will tell me? Elias nodded. As long as you keep your voice low. This isn't a classroom, but it might pass the time. Lyra leaned in eagerly, her questions tumbling out. Why do humans smile in danger? I have seen records even in battles soldiers laugh. How can this be? Elias chuckled quietly. Because sometimes laughter is how we tell fear it can't win. A smile doesn't mean we aren't afraid. It means we won't let fear rule us. Lyra's glowing eyes grew wide. So a smile is a weapon? In a way, Elias said. It's a message. To ourselves, to our enemies, to our friends. It says, I'm still standing. Lyra thought about this deeply. To her people, smiles were rare, reserved only for peace. To imagine them used in battle felt impossible. Yet here was a human saying it as if it were natural. She asked again. Why do humans risk themselves for strangers? Many species protect their own, but humans protect even those they do not know. Elias's face grew thoughtful. Because we know what it feels like to need help. We know one day we could be the stranger, helping others. It keeps us human, no matter where we are in the galaxy. Lyra's skin shimmered brighter with admiration. That is beautiful. Elias gave a small shrug. It's also dangerous. Not everyone deserves the risk. But if we never take the chance, the galaxy becomes colder. The hum of the deck continued around them. Reports came in, updates on the silent ship. Still, no movement. Still, no signal. Yet Elias and Lyra's quiet conversation carved its own space within the storm. She asked another question, softer this time. Do you ever wish you were not a hero? That you were just ordinary? Elias paused at that. For a moment he said nothing. His eyes drifted to the stars beyond the glass. Yes, he said at last. More times than I can count. Hero is a title others give you. But inside, Sometimes I only want to be a man who can walk home, who can rest, who doesn't carry the weight of decisions. Lyra tilted her head. Then why do you continue? Elias looked at her directly. Because titles don't matter. Lives do. If carrying the weight means others can live lighter, then I'll carry it. Lyra's silver glow brightened with emotion. No wonder the galaxy admires you. Elias gave a dry laugh. Admiration is easy. Living with the cost is harder. Their conversation was cut short when the commander raised his voice. The vessel is moving, slowly approaching the outer shield. Every officer turned their attention to the main display. The dark ship glided forward, silent and steady like a predator testing its prey. The reptilian guard near Elias hissed. Should we fire, Commander? Not yet, the avian commander replied sharply. We wait. Elias leaned forward, studying the ship with keen eyes. They want you to panic, that's their game. Lyra's voice trembled as she whispered. What will happen if they attack? Elias's hand rested briefly on her shoulder, steady and firm. Then we fight. And we survive, that's what humans do best. Lyra's glow steadied under his touch. Her fear did not vanish, but it softened, replaced by trust. She believed him. Minutes stretched into heavy silence as the ship drew closer. Every heartbeat on the command deck seemed louder. Finally, the vessel stopped just outside the shield's edge. No fire, no signal, only stillness. The commander hissed softly through his beak. What are they waiting for? Elias narrowed his eyes. For us to make the first mistake. Lyra looked up at him, wonder in her gaze. Even in danger, he stood calm, unshaken. She realized then that her sneaking into his chamber had given her more than a meeting. It had given her a chance to see humanity not as stories but as truth, courage in its raw form. And though the ship outside remained silent, Lyra knew the real noise was inside her. Questions, admiration, and something new. Hope. The command deck felt like the heart of a storm. Officers moved quickly, voices sharp with urgency, while the dark ship outside hung like a shadow over the station. It was close now, too close, hovering just beyond the shimmering glow of the EDI defensive shields. Elias Ward stood still, arms folded, eyes locked on the screen. He had faced this kind of silence before, and he did not like it. The ship was watching, waiting, testing the nerves of everyone inside the station. The commander raised his wing sharply. Shields steady. All weapons locked. If they cross the barrier, fire at once. Yes, Commander, came the chorus of voices. Lyra stayed close to Elias, her glowing silver skin dim with worry. She whispered, Why do they just wait? Why not strike if they want battle? Elias's jaw tightened. Because fear is a weapon. They want us to burn energy, to make mistakes. If they can break our calm, they win before a single shot. Lyra's eyes widened. Then they are already fighting? In their way, yes, Elias said, but humans don't give ground to fear. Before Lyra could respond, alarms shrieked again. This time they were sharper, louder, echoing from every wall. A red warning flashed across the main screen. Breach detected. Docking. Bay 4. The commander's feathers bristled. Impossible! They never passed the shields. Elias's voice was steady. Then they found another way in. He turned to the guards. Which way to docking bay 4? The insectoid officer hesitated. Captain, the command deck needs your presence. No, Elias cut him off. The command deck has leaders. What the station needs is someone who can move fast where the breach is. Show me the way. The reptilian guard hissed low but nodded. Follow us. Elias looked down at Lyra. She was trembling, her glow flickering nervously. Stay here where it's safe, he said. But Lyra shook her head. No. I came to see what makes humans different. If danger is here, then I will see with my own eyes. Elias stared at her for a long moment. He wanted to refuse, yet he saw determination in her glowing eyes. Stay behind me at all times. If I tell you to run, you run. Yes, Captain, she whispered, but her voice carried steady. Resolved together, they left the command deck. The corridors outside were alive with sound. Boots striking metal floors, alarms echoing, voices shouting orders. Elias and the guards moved quickly, their pace swift but measured. Lyra followed closely, her light a faint glow in the darkened halls. As they neared Docking Bay 4, the noise changed. The sound of energy bursts rattled the air. Security teams were already fighting. Sparks flew from damaged walls and smoke curled in the distance. Elias motioned for Lyra to stay low. He crouched beside a fallen console, peering into the chaos. Figures in dark armor moved through the bay, raiders. They carried strange weapons that crackled with red light, cutting through defenses. The insectoid officer cursed in his clicking language. They bypassed everything. How? Doesn't matter how, Elias said. What matters is stopping them. The reptilian raised his rifle, but Elias stopped him with a hand. No blind firing. We need control. Elias grabbed a metal pipe from the wreckage, testing its weight. Lyra blinked in surprise. A pipe? Against weapons? Elias gave a half smile. A weapon is only as good as the hands that hold it. Then he moved. With quick, precise steps, he slipped through smoke and shadows, striking fast. One raider turned. Too late. Elias swung the pipe, knocking the weapon from its grasp. A sharp kick sent the raider crashing into a crate. The security team, encouraged, pushed forward. The reptilian guard fired controlled shots, each one striking with precision. The insectoid officer moved like lightning, wings buzzing as he cut through the chaos. Lyra watched with wide eyes, her glow brightening in awe. She saw what she had only read in records, humans in action, not reckless but clever, not only strong, but adaptable. Elias used the bay itself as his weapon. He flipped, opened control panels, released steam pipes to blind enemies, and even swung chains to disarm raiders. Every move was fast, unexpected, human. One raider managed to slip past, charging toward Lyra. She froze, her glow flaring with panic. "Lyra!" Elias shouted. At his voice, she dropped flat to the floor just in time. Elias hurled the pipe like a spear, knocking the raider's weapon away before slamming the attacker down with his bare hands. Lyra gasped, her hands trembling, but Elias helped her up. "You're safe. Remember, fear doesn't decide for you." Her glow steadied again. "I will remember." Bit by bit, the raiders fell back. Security forces pressed them hard. Finally, with a sharp signal from one of their own, the remaining raiders retreated to their ship. The vessel detached from the docking bay, slipping back into the void. The alarms shifted to a calmer tone. Threat retreated. Casualties minimal. Systems restoring. The commander's voice came through the comms. "Docking Bay 4, report!" The reptilian answered quickly. "Hostiles repelled, Commander. Casualties light, thanks to Captain Ward's actions." Lyra looked around at the bay. Smoke rising, sparks falling, but survivors standing tall. Her glow was steady now, brighter than before. She whispered, "You turned chaos into order. Just by being calm, just by thinking. That is what makes humans different." Elias rested the pipe against the wall, breathing heavily but steady. He gave her a tired smile. "It's not just humans. It's anyone willing to act when fear tries to take control. But yes, humans are stubborn about it." She smiled softly, her silver skin shimmering. "Then stubbornness is a gift." The guards regrouped, securing the area. Officers began repairs, already moving debris aside. The danger had passed, for now. Elias turned toward Lyra. "Now do you see? Stories tell half the truth. The rest, you have to live." Lyra nodded firmly. "I see, and I will remember this night always." As they walked back toward the command deck, the weight of silence returned. The raiders were gone, but questions remained. How had they bypassed shields? Why here, why now? For Elias, answers could wait. What mattered was that people lived. For Lyra, what mattered was what she had witnessed. She had come to see a hero. Instead, she had seen a human. And that was something far greater. The docking bay still smelled of smoke and burned metal when Captain Elias, Ward, and Lyra returned to the command deck. The officers stood tall again, though tension still clung to the air. The dark raider vessel had withdrawn into space, but everyone knew it was not over. The avian commander spread his wings in greeting. "Captain Ward, your action saved the bay. The raiders were not prepared for your human tactics." Elias only gave a small nod. "They'll be back. Raiders don't strike once and leave forever. That was a test. Next time they'll come stronger." The commander tilted his head. "And how do we prepare?" Elias's gaze turned toward the stars. "By expecting the unexpected." Lyra stood, close, listening. Her silver glow was steady now, brighter than it had been when she first entered his chamber. She felt different too, less a fangirl hiding in secret, more a witness to something real. Hours passed as repairs continued, yet Elias remained on the command deck, studying maps and listening to reports. Lyra did not leave his side. She wanted to see everything, to understand not just human strength but human thought. At last, a call came from the technicians. "Captain, we found traces of code in the docking systems. The raiders hacked into our controls from outside. That's how they bypassed shields." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then they left something behind. Raiders don't waste effort. If they opened a door once, they'll try again." The commander's feathers rustled. "Can we block them?" Elias turned to Lyra. "You said you were a scholar. You studied human records. Do you also study systems, machines?" Lyra blinked, surprised to be asked. "Yes. My people use light code. I can read system patterns faster than most." Elias's eyes narrowed with thought. "Good. Then you'll help me." Her glow brightened with excitement. "Me? Help you? Why not?" Elias said simply. "You wanted to see why humans are different. Now you'll see. We adapt. We use what's near us. Right now you're near me." Lyra's silver skin shimmered with pride. "I will not fail." Together they went to the systems lab. Screens glowed with strange symbols, streams of code, running like rivers. Engineers worked hard but shook their heads in frustration. "The Raiders' code hides itself," one explained. "We erase it, but it returns." Lyra stepped forward, her glowing fingers dancing across the keys. "They hide in repeating loops, see? The lines mirror themselves. If we break the rhythm, we expose them." The engineers leaned in, surprised. Elias stood beside her, watching closely. "Show us," he said. Lyra worked quickly, tracing light patterns across the screen. Each movement revealed more of the Raiders' hidden design. Elias could not read the alien symbols, but he saw the rhythm, like a song she was unraveling, note by note. At last the code blinked and cracked apart. A map appeared, hidden inside. It showed paths through the station, routes the Raiders planned to use. The engineers gasped. Elias's eyes hardened. They weren't just testing. They were marking targets. Lyra turned to him, her glow flickering, nervously. "Then they will come again soon." "Yes," Elias said, "and we'll be ready." He looked around the lab. "We can't rely only on weapons. The Raiders expect strength. What they don't expect is creativity. Humans are good at that." He grabbed a marker from the console and drew quickly on the holoboard. "If they return through these paths, we don't block them head on. We guide them. We let them think they're winning, but we pull them into traps." The reptilian guard frowned. "That is risky. What if they break through?" Elias smirked slightly. "Then we break back harder. But most enemies can't resist an easy path. We'll make one that leads exactly where we want." Lyra's glow shimmered brighter, like turning fear into a weapon. "Now you turn overconfidence into one too." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Use what they bring against them." The station prepared through the night cycle. Traps were placed, corridors sealed, false signals spread, and Lyra, though only a scholar, worked beside the engineers, guiding them to erase the Raider code completely. Elias checked every corner himself, never resting, always watching. At last, the silence broke. The alarms shrieked again. Unidentified. Vessel returning, cried the officer. Elias stood tall. Then it's time. The raider ship appeared on the screen, moving faster this time, straight toward the station. Shields rose, weapons locked. But Elias raised his hand. Hold fire. Let them think we're afraid. The vessel docked again, this time at the path Elias had prepared. Raiders stormed inside, their dark armor shining under flashing red lights. But instead of open space, they found sealed corridors that shifted behind them. Traps snapped shut, cutting them off from escape. Steam burst, blinding them. Magnetic locks pulled their weapons to the walls. Elias led the strike team personally, pipe in hand once more. Lyra stayed in the control room, guiding the locks with her glowing fingers, her voice steady through the comm. Left corridor clear, Captain. Right corridor blocked. Push forward. Elias grinned despite the danger. You're doing well, Lyra. Keep them guessing. Together, they drove the raiders into the heart of the trap. Confused and unprepared, the invaders faltered. One by one, they were forced to retreat, their ship breaking free and fleeing back into the void. The command deck erupted with cheers. The commander's feathers shone with pride. We drove them off, with minimal losses. Elias lowered his pipe, breathing hard, but steady. He spoke into the comm. Lyra, good work. You were part of this victory. In the control room, Lyra glowed brighter than ever. Her voice shook, not with fear but joy. I helped a human hero in battle. No record, no story could give me this. Thank you, Captain. Elias smiled faintly. Not hero, just human. Remember that. Later, when the station calmed, Elias and Lyra stood side by side at the viewing window. The stars stretched endless before them, but the silence was calm now, no longer threatening. Lyra looked at him with glowing eyes. I came here as a fangirl. I wanted to see a hero, but now I see more. Humans are not heroes because of stories. They are heroes because of choices. Elias nodded slowly. And choices always come again. That's what makes us who we are. Lyra's glow shimmered with respect. Then today I will remember. Not just what I saw, but what I became part of. For Elias, it was another battle won. For Lyra, it was the moment she truly understood what made humans special. And for the galaxy, it was proof once more that when humans stood, they made others stronger too. The station hummed with quiet after the chaos of the raider attack. Alarms had stopped, lights returned to their normal glow, and officers moved calmly through the corridors. Repairs were underway, but the immediate danger had passed. Captain. Elias Ward stood at the observation deck overlooking the black expanse of space. The stars stretched endlessly, sparkling like scattered diamonds, and in the distance the fleeing raider vessel became nothing more than a shadow among millions of stars. Lyra stood beside him, her silver skin glowing softly. She had watched him through the entire crisis. Not just the fighting, but the thinking, the calm decision-making, the care for others. She had expected a hero to be someone larger than life, invincible and untouchable. Instead, she saw a human who carried responsibility with humility, courage, and thoughtfulness. You didn't have to let me help, she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper against the hum of the station. Elias glanced at her and gave a small, tired smile. You wanted to learn, and you did. That's how humans work. We adapt, and we include anyone willing to step up. Lyra tilted her head. I came as a fangirl. I wanted to see a hero. I wanted admiration. But what I saw, it's more than admiration. It's respect. For choices, not titles. For courage, not medals. Elias nodded slowly. Titles don't matter. Choices matter. And bravery comes from deciding to act even when fear is present. Anyone can do that. Human or alien. She looked at him thoughtfully. So humans are admired not just for strength, but for what they do with it? Yes, Elias said. Strength is useless if it doesn't protect someone or something. What matters is how you use it. That's why people tell stories about humans. Not because we're invincible, but because we keep moving forward when everything tells us to stop. Lyra's glow brightened slightly, a sign of deep thought and understanding in her species. I always thought heroes were distant, untouchable. Now I see it's different. Heroes are people who inspire by action and example. Elias's gaze returned to the stars. And sometimes the most inspiring people are the ones who don't even know they are heroes. They just do what they must. For a moment, silence settled between them. It was comfortable, not heavy. The stars outside seemed to reflect what Lyra was feeling inside. Possibility, hope, and understanding. I'm glad I snuck in, Lyra admitted softly. Even though it was risky. Even though I could have gotten into trouble. Elias chuckled faintly. You could have caused more than a little trouble, but in the end it worked. You saw humans not as legends but as people, and that's what counts. Lyra looked at him, eyes shining. You make it seem simple, to stand firm, to act with courage, but it must be hard sometimes. It is, Elias admitted. Every day, every mission, every choice. But that's life. The challenge is not avoiding fear or danger, but facing it anyway. She nodded slowly. I understand now. I've read about courage, I've studied it in records, but now I feel it, I've seen it, I've been part of it. Elias glanced at her, a faint smile forming. Then you're part of this story too, Lyra. Not just a witness, not just a fan. You helped and you learned. That's how bonds are made, through action, trust, and understanding. Lyra's glow pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. She had come to meet a hero, expecting admiration and awe. Instead, she found respect, guidance, and something deeper, a connection beyond stories, beyond titles. The commander's voice came, over the comm. Captain Ward, all systems are restored. The station is secure. Casualties are minimal thanks to your leadership. Elias nodded. Good work, everyone. And thank you for keeping the station together while we handled the breach. Lyra looked at him with awe. Even after all that, you give credit to others. That is human too, isn't it? Yes, he said simply. Heroes don't stand alone. Humans rarely do. Strength is multiplied when shared. She took a small step closer, her voice soft. I came here thinking I wanted to see someone. Great. But now I want to understand humans. To see them not as stories, but as people who make a difference. And I want to learn from you. Elias studied her for a moment. Her glow was steady now, full of determination and honesty. Then, learn. Ask questions, observe, act. The galaxy doesn't reward waiting, it rewards doing. That's how humans survive, how humans inspire. Lyra's silver skin shimmered brighter, reflecting the stars outside. Then I will. I will remember this night. Every choice. Every action. Elias's gaze softened. And when you share what you've learned with your people, they will understand humans not just as heroes, but as examples of courage and compassion. For a long moment, the two of them stood side by side looking at the stars. The dark vessel had disappeared, the raiders had fled, and the station rested in calm. Yet the experience lingered, leaving a mark far beyond the battle itself. Lyra broke the silence. Captain, will you ever return to Earth? Elias smiled faintly. One day, but until then my place is here, where I'm needed. Humans aren't only heroes on their own planet. They're heroes wherever they stand for others. Lyra nodded. I think I understand that now. Humans inspire not because they are perfect, but because they act when others hesitate. And because they care. Yes, Elias said, and that care makes the difference. Between fear and courage, between loss and hope. Lyra's glow pulsed once more, bright and steady. Then thank you, Elias Ward, for letting me see what it means to be human, for showing me courage, and for trusting me to help. Elias gave a small, genuine smile. You don't need to thank me. You stepped forward when it mattered, That's what counts. And that's what humans respect most. Action, trust, and the willingness to stand together. Outside the observation window, stars sparkled endlessly, but inside, a quiet bond had formed. Not the bond of fan and hero, but of two beings who had faced fear, taken action, and understood one another. Lyra's admiration had grown into respect. Elias's loneliness had softened into connection. For the galaxy, this night would be remembered in the stories of defense and bravery. For Elias and Lyra, it was remembered in something deeper, the knowledge that courage, respect, and understanding could create bonds beyond titles, medals, or legends. And as the station hummed quietly around them, they stood together, watching the stars, knowing that humans inspired not because they were invincible, but because they chose to stand and act, even when everything told them to stop.